Good morning, everyone. Welcome. In today's lecture, we're going to do a deep dive into something that seems really simple on the surface: how to state your age in Mandarin. But as you're about to see, this single phrase is actually a fantastic gateway into some core grammar, crucial pronunciation, and some really important cultural ideas.
So let's just start with this question. How old are you? In English, the answer is just automatic, right? You don't even think about it. But in Mandarin, how you answer this reveals so much more than just a number. It shows your grasp of grammar, your control of tones, and, this is the big one, your awareness of the social situation.
So here's our game plan for today. First, we'll cover the basic sentence pattern. Then, we're going to take it apart, piece by piece. After that, we'll get into the nitty-gritty of pronunciation. And then, we'll talk about the culture behind the question, which is so important. Finally, we'll wrap up with a thought on what it all means for your language journey.
All right, let's get into our formal analysis. This first part is all about the essential sentence pattern. You absolutely need to get this structure down cold because everything else we discussed today is going to build right on top of this foundation.
Okay, here it is. This is the core structure. It's beautiful in its simplicity. You start with the pronoun wo, wo, which means I. Then you just pop your age, the number, right in that blank space. And you finish with the character sui, sui. Now, it is absolutely critical that you understand that sui isn't just a generic word for year, like nian, nian. No, sui is a specific measure word used exclusively for years of age. Think of it like a counter for each year of your life. That distinction is key.
So let's put this pattern into practice with a real example. Let's say you're 20 years old. The correct way to say it is 我20岁. 我20岁. The number 20 is 20. Now, what do you notice here? The literal translation is I 20 years of age. There's no verb, is there? In English, we need I am 20. In Mandarin, that linking verb just isn't there. This is a really important structural difference to remember.
And that brings us to the second part of our lecture. Just memorizing a phrase isn't enough to become truly competent in a language. A serious student, like all of you, needs to understand the logic behind it, to really break it down into its moving parts. So this chart really lays it all out for us. We start with our subject, wo, w, then comes the predicate. But what's interesting here is that the predicate isn't a verb. It's this combination of a number and a measure word. The number tells you the how many, and the measure word, sui, tells you of what. In this case, years of life. This subject-number-measure-word pattern is incredibly common in Mandarin, and it's a huge departure from English syntax. It's a perfect example of grammatical efficiency.
All right, so you know the words, you understand the grammar, but that's only half the battle, isn't it? Mandarin is a tonal language. If your pronunciation is off, you could be misunderstood, or you might even be saying something completely different from what you intend. So now we have to shift our focus to actually saying this phrase correctly and with confidence.
Let's talk about the common mistakes that students make. First up is the third tone on wo. It is not a flat wo. It's a dipping tone. You have to feel your voice go down and then come back up a little. Wo. The second common mistake is the fourth tone on sui. This has to be sharp, like a command. It falls decisively. Sui. Now, the most frequent error I hear is when students just say it all in one flat monotone voice, like this. 我20岁. That's completely wrong, and it sounds very unnatural. A correctly pronounced sentence has a melody, a contour. Listen closely. First, the wrong way again. 我20岁. Now the right way. Pay attention to the tones. 我20岁. Let me do that again, slowly. 我20岁. Do you hear that? The dip on a 我and that sharp, clean drop on sui. That's the music of the language, and that's what you need to replicate.
And this brings us to what I think is one of the most fascinating parts of language learning. Language doesn't exist in a dictionary or a textbook. It's not just a collection of words. Every phrase we learn is deeply embedded in the culture of the people who speak it. And to use the language well, you have to understand that cultural world.
This is a huge one, and it's so important for any of you planning to study or work in a Chinese-speaking country. In many Western cultures, especially in the US, asking an adult their age can feel a little rude, right? It can be seen as intrusive. But in Mandarin-speaking cultures, it's totally different. It's a standard, common, and often one of the first questions you'll get when you meet someone. Now, why is that? It's not because people are being nosy. It's a way of establishing social context.
Age is a huge factor in social hierarchy. Knowing someone's age tells you how to address them. Are they an elder you should show deference to? Or are they a peer you can be more familiar with? It clarifies the entire dynamic of the conversation right from the start.
So here's the critical takeaway for you. When someone asks your age, don't see it as an invasion of privacy. You have to reframe it in your mind. See it as a friendly gesture, as an invitation to figure out your relationship to one another. By answering directly and confidently with the phrase we just learned, you're showing that you understand and are willing to participate in a really fundamental social custom. This simple understanding is the key to avoiding awkward moments and actually building real connections.
This brings us to our final point, and it really pulls together everything we've talked about today, from the individual characters, to the grammar, to the pronunciation, all the way to the cultural norms. All of these things are pointing toward a single, much bigger goal in your language learning.
I want you to really carry this idea with you as you continue your studies. Every single word, every grammatical pattern you learn is more than just a piece of information. It's a key. It's a key that unlocks a different way of seeing the world, a different way of relating to other human beings. Real fluency isn't about having perfect grammar, though that's important. It's about achieving a deep and empathetic understanding of the culture, the context, and the human conversation that brings a language to life. Thank you.